Hello, folks, and welcome back for the least optimized playthrough of Borderlands 2 that you will ever see in your entire life. We are running Salvador, the Gunzerker, and we now have our beloved Bee. That's right, this episode is now chock full, 100% more Bee than, well, not the last episode, but the episode before that. And the great thing about the Bee, in addition, is it works with works in conjunction with vehicles. So that extra, as long as your shield is, your vehicle is in full good condition, which is hard to do, especially if stuff is shooting at you. But if it's full condition, then you have the Bee effect on your vehicle mounted weaponry as well. So nifty stuff there. Anyway, as you see, we are using sniper rifles and things of that nature, which is not ideal with your gunzerking, but again, least optimized is what we're working with. So just tickled pink to have the Bee. You will see us unequip it a few times. By us, I mean the royal us, meaning myself. I will unequip it a few times from here on out for, I think, the next episode or two. I haven't really scouted ahead, but before I finally settle on keeping it. Oh, just hear that beautiful sound. It's fun. Anyway, so this episode is, as you can probably tell, is a little shorter than the other ones. Most of these are averages an hour. We had a couple that went a little bit longer, and we've got episodes like this that are going to be a little bit shorter. But that's not really worth talking about more than just to mention it. So we're a little bit more of a brief episode. I'm not really sure why. I think maybe I just get to a nice stopping point that it doesn't make sense to start a new quest or something. So hopefully we'll see some true badassery here. And okay, so we're finding the badonkadonks. We spoke with Tiny Tina in our last episode. The disturbed, I believe she's 13-year-old demolitions expert, friend of Roland, who is sending us to get her badonkadonks, which is essentially two rockets or two missiles that are stashed somewhere here. Well, we know where they are, but they're stashed here, and we're going to have to kick butt and take names. I don't know why I said that was so cheesy. Now, see, there we go. Yep. So I traded because I knew it's a slaughter fest here. It's a meat grinder. There's just nothing but Tiny Tina yelling into our ear as we try to stay alive. So that's what it is. Now in the future, I don't do this. Even though we're up against it, I will still use the Bee. It's just in this particular case, I was not planning on doing that. I just thought, oh, this is a cool little thing to have. And if you're going to get into a gunfight where you're going to be beset on all sides and from above, death from above, you don't want to be using the Bee shield because it's going to run out quick and you're just going to be a sitting duck. But again, I man up and I get brave and I roll with it later on. And you'll see, of course, I'm punished for it, but it's worth it because it's the Bee. And this is where Maya really is a much better character to be with, to have. We're going to see it later on too. Once have we done it yet? I don't think we have. Well, maybe we have. I'm trying to think if we've already. Yeah, we have because we rescued Roland. So we've already encountered the little drone dealies that heal Handsome Jack's robot army while also zapping us on occasion. So Maya being able to phase lock on those little turd muffins and phase lock these really big pain in the butt buzzards is nice, but luckily we're way over leveled, so our sniper rifle is making short work of them. But normally, I mean, I've really never found out the best way to take them out, the most efficient way. You'd think a rocket launcher would, but they're very nimble little turd muffins, and it's really hard, at least for me, to zero in on them. So I mean, if you have the fastball, I think we actually do end up using that later on once we get it. I think we use a fastball against those and it does work okay. I mean, again, I'm using corrosive because in theory with the yellow health bar they are weak to corrosion, but it sure doesn't seem that way based on the results we saw. But then again, I didn't really pay attention to what level this weapon is. It could be, was that almost looked like a legendary just as I glanced, but it must not have been. Otherwise, I would have been like, what legendary did I just get? And I don't think I've ever gotten a legendary from a porta potty. I mean, it makes sense that wouldn't be the case. But who knows? I mean, you could have a legendary warrior you know, is another mercenary on Pandora who went to the bathroom, got perforated, and you know, left their legendary hanging on the wall. I mean, that could happen. So there is definitely a in-lore reason for a legendary to be in a bathroom, but yeah, it's really not doing anything. So I'm guessing it's just a really low-level gun, because otherwise it should be making short work of the buzzards. And I don't even know what I'm doing. This is why I use a sniper rifle. This is sloppy, just sloppy. Now I'm doing the right thing. Ideally, when you're playing Borderlands 2, you want to get used to swapping between slag and regular weapons. Like, that's because if you're going to go true Vault Hunter mode, if you're going to go further in the game, you need to be able to do that and be good at it. Be very adept. And adept is what I want to say. Be very adept at making that switch. And having a high percentage slag weapon. What is it, the one? I'm trying to remember. I think it's a pistol. Or maybe not. Is it Sandhawk? There's one that's ideal to find that it offers different elemental damage, and you want to get the slag version of it. I'm pretty sure it's a pistol because it has a very high percentage chance. You don't care about how much it slags necessarily, or the duration. You just want to make sure that it's going to slag stuff when you shoot it, so that you're guaranteed to get that extra damage. But all right, so they must have leveled up. Yep, okay, they're 15 now instead of 14. Nope, they're still 14, but I think the buzzard was 15, which is why we got a whopping 85 XP, whereas we had been getting 3 and 4 before. More iridium, sweet iridium. Some people ignore it. I remember I did a couple playthroughs with different friends, and a lot of them didn't really seem to care about the iridium. I'm like, I want my stuff expanded. I want more weapons. I want, or more, to be able to carry more weapons. I want more bigger ammo deals. I thought I was gonna have to pilfer it from my friends and be like, oh, what's that over there? I yoinked the iridium, but they didn't seem to care. Congratulations, Mordecai. Stop bragging. Seriously. You know how many of him we've got? We've gone through like thousands of them. Yeah, you take out that low-level grunt, Salvador. Actually, I can't remember. I call him Goover Snacks or something like that. He's not called Salvador in my playthrough. I think, do we have the bee again? We do not. We are not using the bee right now. I've not switched back to it. So I do. Like I said, it happens initially with relative infrequency. I think we fight Wilhelm. I believe we switch back to it at least at that point. It is kind of cool. I mean, granted, for a sniper rifle, Mordecai is firing that thing off like relentlessly. You're hearing sniper shots, just one right after the other. But it just, even that basic sound effect just adds, it makes the world feel more robust. Like, okay, there's another character shooting at stuff. I can't even see that he's shooting at stuff. I'm just taking it on faith that he is. But between that and him randomly saying, I got one, it's like, oh, cool, you're not alone in the world. I've talked earlier about how Borderlands 1 felt very isolated. And it's little things like that that make you feel the world feels more robust.
This gonna be good.
I will say having a vending machine doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I guess maybe she set that up on purpose, just so that when Roland or Vault Hunter came by, she could get a little money off of him. But why wouldn't you just have a whole crate full of ammo? Why would you bother setting up a vending machine? Obviously, it's for our point. I'm just nitpicking lore stuff. Yep, so there's nice little flavor there. Her and Roland hanging out, their buddies. Which really plays the payoff.
I'm a little teapot, bloody and cut. Here is my handle, here is my butt.
Did not see that coming.
Whoops. Put a little bomb in the hot ass damsel, blow stuff up and make people die. Squishy, 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 squishy. Oh damn, you looking good, ladies. Let's get to work.
Yeah, I don't know that you could call her a polarizing character. Tiny Tina, like, you can take her or leave her. She does,
Take 'em.
you, like, the game does, you know, not cater. It does foster some empathy for her, you know, when you find out about her history. And when you see, honestly, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I like Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep. It really, it
Put my damsels near the choo-choo track and
taps into a side of her that
great plan.
that recolors your interactions here. Like, you
Let's do this.
Sup, sucker? Got a very important tea party coming up, and my date is missing.
she keeps interrupting me. I can't get my train of thought. But I think that's why it's always important. And I would say Borderlands 2 didn't quite do it as well with, like, her, because it wasn't until Assault on Dragon Keep, or maybe I'm trying to think if we get a little snippet of her past through an echo log or something later on in this game, like when we're on the way to rescue Bloodwing. I can't remember, but that's why you don't want your one-note characters. You can have sassy, you can have, you know, rigid, you can have, you know, aloof or whatever. But, like, even Roland, like, we get the banter between him and Lilith. Like, up to that point, all we'd seen was these are kind of hardened mercenaries, and yeah, there's some affection there. But, you know, she's a badass, he's a badass. You know, they're doing their you know, rebellion against Jack and all that kind of stuff. But some of those echoes are first time seeing them as more people, as their relationship, where it's not just we're shooting stuff or we're killing things. It's, okay, we actually care about each other, and there's a softness that each one of them has for each other. And, you know, it doesn't have to be romantic, but in that particular case it is. But it wasn't romanticized. It just so happened to be, you know, we know that they're dating at this point. But I think it's great to show somebody tough as nails initially, and let you kind of experience that and be like, and appreciate or marvel at the character's many good attributes. But then I think it's important to show a measure of vulnerability or humanness. And that's, I mean, vulnerability is a very human thing. Whether we like it or not, weakness is what we can identify with universally. And a lot of times when you got these heroes, protagonists, whether it's in a video game or a movie, it can be, we root for them. We want to see them do well, but we can't always relate to that because we don't have a writer. Well, I mean, depending on if you believe in the author of life and all that good stuff. But, you know, in general, even if you do believe in that, the idea that, like, every event it's tailored or scripted like it is with a screenplay or a video game, we don't have that same sense. So you don't have somebody saying, okay, I'm going to make sure this character has this amount of development and this happens, and at the end of this 2-hour journey, or, you know, the end of the video game, they will have achieved their objective. We don't know that. A lot of us have episodes or chapters or games in our lives that we don't get the objective, or we get a different objective, one that we didn't see coming, or you know, we don't have an objective. We're wandering around and we literally have no clue what the heck we're supposed to be doing. And then that chapter ends, and we start having a different experience. By different experience, I mean, like, a decidedly different time in your life. Like, I don't know why I was at that job for 2 years, but I made some money and I stayed alive, and now I'm moving and I'm switching jobs. I don't know what the purpose of that job was. I don't know what that purpose in the time of life was, if there was. You know, but in a movie that never happened. In a movie, there's always something there. Even if it's a slice of life, there's always an arc of some kind, which is what makes it entertaining to watch. I wouldn't argue that we shouldn't do that just because it doesn't reflect real life. Because all of us do have times in our lives where we do have an arc. If you look back and go, oh, wow, this was a time of development for me. This was a time of change. This was a time of growth. This was a time of overcoming adversity. And speaking of overcoming adversity, we are now stuttering in-game audio. So I'm going to remember at about the 15-minute mark, we're going to bring the volume down a little bit. Hopefully this doesn't persist for too long. But yeah, this is OBS. What is it called? Media source beta or audio capture beta or something. And for whatever reason, on Windows 10, you will randomly get bad audio Ugh. I'm keeping the volume up for my playthrough just so that I can hear when it goes back to normal. If it does, it's very annoying to listen to, so I do apologize. Hopefully it's a stuttering or a sputtering. But yeah, it happens randomly, and you can't hear it while you're playing. It doesn't pass through, and you don't find out until you. Or maybe it does, but I wasn't wearing headphones. I don't think it does though, because I think it goes into OBS fine and clean, and so that's what you hear. But when OBS records it, it starts stuttering and having issues. Apparently, it was fixed in Windows 11. It's not even an option for Mac. This beta, it's not even, so you can't do it on a Mac. And apparently, Windows 11, it's some way that OBS interacts with Windows, or Windows interacts with OBS. And apparently, they fixed it. They patched it for Windows 11, but Windows 10 didn't get touched. And I have no interest in grabbing Windows 11 at this point. I haven't heard anything good about it. En contraire, I've heard many bad things about it, compatibility issues and these sorts of things. And it always is skeptical when Windows is trying to push it. I'm not, they're trying to push it because of some nefarious thing. But anytime a company or anything is constantly putting something in front of my face, I'm always kind of give it a little bit of a cockeyed thing. Like, why is this so important to you that I make this change? Like, what is it? And you could say, oh, they just want every user to have a great experience, and they're not really updating 10 or something. I don't buy that in a second. I don't think it has anything to do with the experience. But I also don't necessarily think there's nefarious intent. Like I said, if I heard good things about Windows 11, I would make the jump, but I have not. And so I would just as soon stick with 10. The only downside being this particular thing. But I have since done desktop capture, and that seems to have solved the problem. The only downside being if you get a notification, of course, it's going to be recorded as well. Are we back? I think we're back now. All right, so 14 and a half minutes to the 17 and a half minute mark. And I mean, that's the thing. It's just that random. Usually it hits at the 45 minute to an hour mark. It's very rare for it to happen this early in. There's a chance. Maybe the reason why this is a short game is maybe I did piggyback this off of the last one.
Scrap metal from the buzzards so you can make me a teapot. Just blow up some buzzards and pick up the flamey bits.
So I played, stopped it at that mark, and then played again, and then kind of ran out of steam. It's sad to say. I mean, when you're a kid, I mean, I remember playing just Mario Brothers. I think I mentioned this before. The original Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers, for the Nintendo. When I got it for Christmas, I played that thing for 8 hours. 8 hours of a very basic 8-bit platformer without a problem. I was 10 or 11 years old at the time. Now, trying to play a game for 2 to 4 hours can be very taxing. Although I did do Tears of the Kingdom. I did, and those were 4-hour. How many episodes were there? 33 episodes, I think, or something like that. Something crazy, and each one was 4 hours. I streamed on Rumble, which I may do also in the future. Because it is more of a streaming platform, whereas YouTube is still primarily video with streaming.
Another trophy for my wall.
I don't think you're going to mount that there, Mordecai. Don't think. Oh no, wait. I was looking at the thing that I shot. He may have just shot a grasshopper, and that could be what he's referring to. But yeah, all that to say that we can't always relate to the happy ending because, I mean, one, our lives, we very rarely have a time in our life where it's like, oh, hey, this is the end of this chapter in my life. This is the end of this story, and isn't it a happy ending? It all kind of blends together. And so unless you're looking back at your life with a good bit of insight and awareness, it would be really hard to see where a certain story stops. To start, if you were to say, okay, if I were to make movies about my life, where would the narrative start and end? It can be very hard to see that, even if you are able to remember in great detail all these different parts of your life, which that's another thing that starts going as you get older without even factoring in dementia or some tragedy like that. It's still, the years kind of condense, and it's harder to remember, more events. I mean, even now I can only remember a handful of Christmases, and I know I had at least 18 I probably didn't remember the first 2 or 3 of my life, but at least 15 awesome Christmases. And I can only remember at most 6 or 7 of them, if that. So it can be very hard to see where our happy endings are.
Shorty, you the best. You the best.
But showing a character to be human, showing them to have a vulnerability, even if, I mean, just an emotional thing, or just something where you see, it can be something wistful. It can be where you see that they're mourning the loss of a better life that they had, or what the life that they thought they were going to have. And it doesn't have to be some sappy thing. It just, a moment of reflection, a pause, where the character says something very typical of what they would say, and then you just hear a heavy sigh and just, I kind of wish things could go back to the way they were, or something like that. I mean, that might be too over the top, but just something like that, where you just get the idea where they're missing something. There's some pain there's some regret, there's remorse, there's whatever, and it just fleshes them out so they're not just this crazed maniac. And all that to say, I think Tiny Tina, it takes a little too long for us to get the empathy or the compassion, and she just comes across as this whack-out deranged. Yeah, and again, she's 13, so I mean, 13 is going to be 13, but I think maturity does get pushed upon people when they go through adverse circumstances in order to deal with it. You either adapt and you deal with it, or you don't, but it usually means you're not able to function. So to be able to handle adversity at a young age accelerates your maturity or your cynicism or what have you, but it should also develop some kind of emotional, not only fortitude, but a way of coping with, hopefully in a helpful way. Although you could make the argument then that
I don't think he liked me.
the way of that a young person would cope with tragedy like this, or an environment, a situation like this, would be to not process it at all. That's really the only way somebody that's that young could continue to function in any way, shape, or form, is to completely repress all emotion and lean into this kind of, I want to say deranged, but this kind of maddened state of being. I don't mean maddened like John Madden. I mean maddened like a little bit insane. And that's probably way too much thought into the game. But that's the luxury you have. That's the armchair player or the armchair spectator. I'm not even playing. You can think about things like that. But when you're writing the game, you're not thinking, hey, we need to, we want characters to connect more with Tiny Tina. It's fine to have her just be this wackadoodle that you're just like, okay, she's a little weird. But that to say, the writing for her is pretty thick. It's pretty saturated. And I think it makes it easier to process that, or easier to appreciate that if you do round her out a little bit more. Something like Roland, we didn't necessarily need him to, we didn't need to have his, to get a full background of his relationship with Lilith, or even more of a background in general, because he was kind of a level-headed guy. He just seemed like a cool dude, and we kind of know a little bit what he experienced in the original Borderlands if you played that. But he doesn't come off as abrasive, I guess, in some ways, as Tiny Tina. And so there's less of a need to humanize him, whereas I think with her it is more imperative. Lilith is kind of a mix. She's kind of between the two. She's a little less, seems a little less, solid and
I gotta do it remotely.
trustworthy than Mordecai to a degree, for lack of a better word. I was like, why is the volume going up? Because in the gameplay, you would have seen that too, I guess, because I'm actually watching the same footage you're going to be watching. I didn't adjust the volume there. That was done at the time before I realized what I was doing. So we're going to pause here just for a moment to watch the badonkadunks. And I remember, embarrassingly enough, I thought I had to time it perfectly, so I would wait to see the train, because I thought if I launched them too early, it wouldn't work, and it would be like, because Borderlands 2 does have quest failures. I think even Borderlands 1 has quest failures.
Well, that's one way to hijack a train. The Volky's still up on that ice.
And we've even seen me do that. I failed the quest with Torg's mother. listening to her talk. That's the quest. And so I thought I might fail, and I might have to go get the missiles, get more missiles, and go through that whole quest thing again. And I didn't want to risk that, so I was always waiting until I could see it, because it says wait until the train is close and then blow it up. So I was always trying to time it perfectly. And then I don't know what, I think at one point I hit the button by accident, and it wasn't even close, the train wasn't even close, and I was like, oh man, and then it blew it up anyway. It's like, okay, as long as you collect the rockets and you arm the rockets and you shoot them off, it is going to trigger the demolition of the train, regardless of how actually close, in actuality, how close the train is to the explosions. And it's weird. There's some days where I just enjoy shooting robots more, and there's some days where I enjoy shooting bandits more. And usually I enjoy shooting the robots more when I have a really good corrosive weapon. This is not that. I think we've established, this is probably an epic. You all might be paying more attention than I am, because it should say, it doesn't. I think, no. Is it Borderlands 3? Because I haven't really ever played Borderlands 3, but I could have sworn there was one that actually told you what weapon you were carrying or you were using, but apparently not. But it's probably an epic, because it's an iridium. It's got that pew 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 thing going on. But I think it's a low level, because it's really taken a lot. We're level 20. If we had a gun that was at our level, we should, the corrosive one, we should be mowing through level 15 robots like nobody's business. And we're still, as we know, we're not using the Bee. I didn't realize that I had it out for that long. I'll switch to the Bee. Oh, and do I have? So you can see it there. We do have the fastball, the legendary grenade. We must have farmed that from Bowl in between sessions, and that could be another reason why it's only 40-minute recording. I may have spent 10, 15 minutes farming, and so I was playing, but I wasn't recording. So the mileage is there, but the odometer wasn't running. I don't know why I needed to come up with an analogy for that, but I did, and so live with it. But that could explain the shorter episode length as well. So I do have the fastball. Hopefully I'll start using it, because I haven't used it yet. That's why I was kind of like, oh, I have it. Oh, there we go. Now again, if I'd been thinking about presentation, I'll be doing that in the future. If I decide to do another one of these where it's a playthrough and then a commentary, I'm going to try to do things to make the playthrough a little more fleshed out. So in that case, I should have done what I did with the Bee, where I was like, oh, hey, fastball, bring up a close-up, spin it around, be like, ooh, behold the fastball. And that way, we both know that off camera, I acquired a legendary item. But I did not think to do that here. See, this is the kind of nonsense you got to do if you don't have Maya's ability. You just got to... Or Axon's, because if you have the turret, the turret's going to auto-target those things. And I think it has... One of the upgrades is... lock-on missiles, or missiles that'll, what do you call those? Seeker missiles, I think. And if not, it's just a heck of a lot better at targeting stuff than I am. So, I hate those things. I've always got beef with like in Elder Scrolls Legends, there's a thing called a Cruel Fire Bloom, which allows you to... It costs almost nothing, but it allows you to sacrifice one of your cards to do 5 damage to a random card somewhere else on the board.
Don't worry. If Jack really wanted to protect the vault key, it wouldn't be on a train. He'd have Wilhelm
guarding it. Wilhelm. Well, I'm sure glad we're not... Oh wait, there we go. It is a level 13. So yeah, that corrosive weapon, that's a level 13. Okay, so it does show you the weapon when you switch to it. It just doesn't keep it on the screen. But yeah, so it's a level 13. We're level 20, and our bad guys are at level 15 to 16. And there is Wilhelm. And we are just tearing him apart with that.
Nearly killed us all in New Haven without taking a scratch. If things get bad, just run.
See.
You can't defeat Wilhelm, I promise you.
you know, we are just devastating him right there. And honestly, that's been my experience with this game. Like, there is so much hype. I mean, Lilith, I mean, it's a great line. I mean, it's great world building where she's like, you know, he's the one that murders all and you know, you killed everyone in New Haven without taking a scratch. Like, and oh, what's her name there? The angel, she's, you know, she made a big deal out of it. You know, like, and I think that's like the second or third time she's like, please tell me they didn't send Wilhelm. But every time I've ever played through it, maybe it's just, I've just naturally been overstated, but every time I've gone against it, he's gone down pretty easy. Like, I've never had a time where it's like, oh, I died 3 times before I got him. You know, maybe I die once, maybe. But usually he just goes down really quick for all the hype that he gets. So that was a bit of a disappointment. It's been, I mean, it's not disappointing. I mean, obviously I don't want to get taken down, but for all the build-up, I was like, oh, Wilhelm must be this really bad mamma jamma and just, you know, it's going to be a really difficult thing, and the music's going to be dramatic, and like, this is the guy that brought down that brought the original Vault Hunters to their knees and took down New Haven. And instead it's like, okay, it took me about 30 seconds to take him out, and yeah, he dinged me up a little bit, but nothing all that substantial. So yeah, probably one of the biggest letdowns. If they didn't say anything about him and he was just another bad guy, he would have been fine, but they really give him a lot of hype. Like, as Lilith is saying, he did it, you know, he killed everybody without taking a scratch. We had him down to a quarter health. The fact is, I'm just too good at this game. That's what it is.
You may not have found the vault key, but at least Sanctuary will be safe a little longer thanks to you.
A lot of assumptions here. This.
Wow! Bravo! Champagne! Cheers! High five! So clap! You got the damn power cord, didn't ya? You've been warned. The kid gloves are coming off. Tighten up the big boy pants because things are gonna get really, really bad for you Vault Hunters. Sorry about the bad intel, everybody. I really
screw you, Mordecai, you and your bad intel. Put that on your wall and smoke it. And at least they didn't, I mean, I think it would have been out of character to have Jack mourn, not even mourn, but like get pissed off. Because he does, spoil, I mean, I'm not going to say exactly, but he does get ticked off later in the game, genuinely ticked off. But, you know, for him to it would have made sense for all the hype and everything. It would have made sense that he would have been a little cheesed off.
Proven yourself to be even stronger than them. Well done.
But in lieu of how easily Wilhelm was defeated, I'm with Handsome Jack. I wouldn't have mourned him either. I'd been like, okay, you took out a guy who obviously had a lot more. His reputation preceded him, and his reputation was not well earned. But then again, some of you within the sound of my voice might have struggled against Wilhelm, and so I am sorry. It's different for everybody. You get that impression from if you. I typically don't read Reddit. It's not something I do willingly or happily, unless it's something functional, like, hey, how do you, you know, in Photoshop, how do you do this? Or, you know, if it's a learning thing, you still might have a jerk that gets on there. It's like, whoa, what a dumb question. But usually there's one or two helpful people that can really help solve the problem. But going there just for a question about the game or
is out prospecting for iridium in the
stop talking in my ear, Lilith.
Want
Gosh,
you to find
don't.
out why they're mining the stuff,
And I want him dead. Order doesn't matter.
Oh, I lost my train of thought, Lilith. Doggone it. You're such a villain. Seriously, she was like right in my ear. I couldn't ignore her. What were they talking about? Something profound, deep, moving. Can't recall.
Don't tell nobody where you got that.
Well, Crazy Earl, you are the only one selling this stuff, so I mean, if there was another vendor, I mean, there are Seraph vendors, I believe is what they're called, but they're not selling the same stuff as you. They sell pearlescent weapons and cool stuff that I really have not been able to access myself, because usually you have to do raids or you have to have an incredibly awesome build, and I have had neither one, so I was not able to do those. But I made do with what I had. All right, but yeah, Handsome Jack, not really being too distraught about losing Wilhelm. It makes sense from my. Oh no, just saying that the difference. So yeah. So Reddit, there are a lot of people that will get on there and say, I'm really struggling with this guy, and instead of saying, oh really? Okay, well, try this because this is what I did, and I didn't really have a problem with him. It's like, oh, what a noob, or what a. I mean, the insult first, and not really helpful. Just say, he was so easy. I don't know how you're struggling. Well, and while that may be honest, you may have had no problem, and you don't understand why somebody's struggling. Clearly, they are. And I have found that with different games, different people, and I think it just has to do with what you're naturally adept at doing when it comes to gaming. There are some bad guys that are bosses that require a little more dexterity, some of them that require more strategy. And sometimes it's a mix of both, but you're still going to have more of one than the other. And so depending on your play style, you may find your strengths line up better against the nature of the boss. Or, as I suspect I did, I probably almost always ended up at the Wilhelm fight overstated. It doesn't explain the earliest ones. When I've once the DLCs and everything came out, and I could do those in between the core gameplay, the core story, I could see being overstated that way, but I don't know how many side quests you'd have to do to get to Wilhelm overpowered. And then there's also, I mean, I won't lie, the golden key, I think that corrosive weapon we used, I think that we got that with a golden key. And the thing is, the shift codes, they're still out there, folks. You can still I'd probably get 30 to 40 golden keys. And all they do, I think we've talked about this before, but there's in that building right in front of us, actually, you go inside, there's a golden chest, and you can use the shift codes. Usually they give you 5 to 10 golden keys by just typing it in. You can use those, unlock the chest, and it's going to give you guaranteed an epic item at your level. Whatever level you're at, it's going to give you an epic. It's going to be a shield. Well, obviously shield. Any of the things, it has a possibility of giving you that. And that helps too. And if you don't have that, it can be much harder. And we're just going to ignore Roland's plight. He didn't want us to stop for him anyway. Pinned under rubble. I thought he might have lost his legs or something, but he seemed to be okay. Well, maybe he is, maybe he isn't. I'm not going to betray anything. But pay attention with the. I've had this. Not freeze up before, but where it kind of glitches, where you can't do anything. Where I just stand there for like 10 minutes, and she stands there, and I don't think she's holding on her hand. She either I gave her the iridium and she doesn't do anything with it, or I couldn't trigger the.
Sorry, kid. That was an accident. I'll see you on the other side, though. I promise. Hit it, Scooter.
Other side.
Man, this is one of them moments.
I'm just looking for it. Back that way. More to the left. More to the left. There it is. There it is. Pretty cool.
That's the best you got. A flying city? Look at your jumps. Possibly how that makes you think you've got a chance against me. A siren. Sup.
Huh, he says. And there you go. But it's another good reason not to trash talk. They might. I mean, he would have figured it out anyway. That's pretty much the only way I think that scenario could have went down. But you trash talk when you're standing over your defeated foe, not in the middle of it. It still makes for a great moment. It's a great narrative time. Like, you get to have that moment of feeling awesome. Oh, and we are okay. So when did I get Pele? Is it Pele or yeah? I think it is. Anyway, we've got the legendary volcano now, and I'm still not using the bee. So hopefully that gets rectified in our next episode, which we are quickly coming up upon. But yeah, that was a natural stopping point. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next episode, number 9.